How's it going, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 89. This issue came out in October of 1970, and today we are looking at an action-packed story. Doc Ock is in fact alive. We were pretty much left with suspicion here, trying to figure out, did he die in a plane crash due to last issue? But as you look on the cover, we see for a fact that Doc Ock is alive, and he is going to put up one heck of a battle with Spider-Man today. So let's go ahead and dive on into today's story. Today's title is Doc Ock Lives. And so this is a pretty cool story, like I said, very action-packed. And let's go ahead and give credit where credit is due. This story is brought to you by Stan Lee, who wrote this. We actually have Gil Kane on the penciling for this issue. This is his first issue drawing Spider-Man, as I recall. But he may have drew Spider-Man in other stories, but in terms of the Amazing Spider-Man story line and just the title itself, this is the very first issue of Gil Kane drawing Spider-Man. We have John Romita on the inking and then Sam Rosen on the lettering page. So let's go ahead and get started with today's issue. We see that Spider-Man is swinging on through the city, and he's wondering, did Doctor Octopus really die in that plane crash from last issue? If you didn't see last issue, pause this video and go back and look at that issue as I reviewed issue number 88. We see that Spider-Man is going to change back to his civilian identity as Peter Parker, and we see that he's just going to walk down the street. He comes across a newspaper, and he's like, oh, this is exactly what I need. So he buys a newspaper, and it says on the newspaper that Doctor Octopus was killed in an airport crash. And he's like, this just cannot make sense because they couldn't find his remains. And Doctor Octopus's tentacles, his metallic tentacles, would have been found in that plane crash. So apparently Doctor Octopus is in fact alive here. So Peter Parker is reading a newspaper when all of a sudden he is stopped by Randy Robertson, Joe Robertson's son. And we see here that Randy is going to invite Peter to go to this protest meeting, and they're protesting air pollution. That's a big problem back in the 70s, and I mean, it's a pretty big problem today as well. But we see here at this time period that this is definitely an issue going on at the time. And we see that Peter Parker's like, sorry, Randy, count me out. I have other issues going on, as in, fighting crime as Spider-Man. But he can't tell Randy that. So we see that Randy gets all upset and he just walks right out and he says, for your information, your girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, yeah, she's going to be there too. And so we see that a very angry Randy Robertson leaves the area, very upset with Peter Parker. We see that Peter then throws his newspaper away in the trash, and we see right behind Peter Parker as Peter Parker is walking off. If he would have just stayed a couple of minutes longer, he would have saw a metallic tentacle retrieve the newspaper that he had just threw away. And lo and behold, Dr. Octopus is in hiding here, and he learns that in this newspaper that the people think that he is dead, but now he's going to try his best to get his revenge on Spider-Man here, and he says for the final time, as we see right here. So this is going to be, like I said, a very action-packed story. It's one of my favorites, I have to say, drawn back in the day, and just great storytelling, once again, by Stan Lee. See here that our good old wall crawler, Peter Parker, who is Spider-Man as we know, he's on the rooftop and he's like, this is a good time as ever to change back to Spider-Man. So we see that now he's going to be on the search for Doctor Octopus. So he's swinging through the city. It's like, oh, it's not going to be such a hard thing to do. I mean, there is 8 million people in this city. And so we see that Spider-Man is swinging through the city. I mean, this is pretty cool. He's like, where the heck is Dr. Octopus? Where is he? And so we see here that As Spider-Man is swinging through the city, he comes across J. Jonah Jameson here, along with Joe Robertson here. And we see that J. Jonah Jameson's like, uh, come quick, come quick. And so we see that he sees Spider-Man outside his window here, and we see that, oh, come on, it's just Spider-Man. What's your big hang up with him? And he said, everybody's talking about pollution, but Spider-Man is the one that I especially hate. And so we see that while Spider-Man is swinging through the city here, he comes across Doctor Octopus, the man that he's searching for, and he's on top of this, it looks like a power plant. And so what we see that Doctor Octopus is going to try to do is he's going to try to black out the entire city just to get Spider-Man's attention. And that's exactly what he's done here as he continues to climb up this power plant. We see that Spider-Man gets involved here, and we have one heck of a battle, like I said. Spider-Man versus Doctor Octopus going toe-to-toe here. Some great action drawn once again by Gil Kane and inking by John Romita Sr. here. He hits Doctor Octopus with a web ball here, which is pretty awesome stuff. We see Spider-Man then tackles Doctor Octopus once again. He has to worry about Doctor Octopus's tentacles, as we know. So Spider-Man webs up his tentacles here, slams Doctor Octopus into this chimney stack. I mean, just awesome stuff. Action packed, like I said. Doctor Octopus then gets a hold of Spider-Man and does the same to him as he slams him against the stack here. And we see once again more action taking place. Spider-Man and Doctor Octopus, one heck of a battle. As I said, Doctor Octopus, he's like, this is going to be your last battle with me because you're going to die. And so he's just squeezing the life out of Spider-Man, as we see right here. We see Spider-Man then uses his webbing here and kicks Doctor Octopus right in the face here. So we see that while they're battling on top of this rooftop, Doctor Octopus then is going to try to trick Spider-Man and get his attention away from himself as they're now battling on top of another building here. Then Doctor Octopus grabs a hold of this water tower here, and he's going to just carelessly, just throw it on top of these crowds of people. They don't know what's going on. They're just watching from above. So Spider-Man then grabs a hold of the water tower, and he's trying his best to just not have it tip over on this big crowd of people. So Spider-Man, with every ounce of energy that he has to push the water tower away from him to the back so it crashes on top of the building here, as we see right here. So he saves himself, or saves the people rather, but now a very weak Spider-Man is then in the clutches of Dr. Octopus's tentacles here, as we see, and now he's going to throw Spider-Man off of this building here, and he says, "This day you die." And so we see here that as we end the issue, Spider-Man is careening off of this building here. Will he be able to survive just being thrown off of this building here? That's one thing we're going to have to worry about as we look into issue number 90 coming up next. And so go ahead, give this video a like, subscribe if you have not, and as always, I will catch you all in the next one.